Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, one of the things that has always stymied me is why one day something will work and the next day it won't when it comes to fishing. And I was watching some videos because I'm always looking for any ways that I can pass on things to you. Most of them hopefully have happened to me and I can pass on my own experiences, but also you can learn from others. And I was watching a video that Bill Dance was doing using little bitty spinner baits. Now, most of these people that you see doing these videos on TV, they're on TV for a reason because they think they can make money. And a lot of times they'll talk about things that will pay them back for exposing them on TV. But that's not really what I'm talking about because I've experienced what I'm about to tell you. Now, Bill Dance was saying, they make these little bitty spinner baits. Most of the time, bass fishermen are trying to find bigger and bigger baits so they can catch that fish of a lifetime. But there's times of the year when smaller baits work better, and that's when it gets colder, and especially in the springtime. Remember, in the spring, most of the food that's out there is pretty small. It hasn't grown up yet. But he claimed that if you use a 1/8 ounce spinnerbait. These are the little ultralight spinnerbaits. They still weigh 1/8 of an ounce, but you can fish them slower, and slower usually could mean better. Now, it's not just because they're littler, but because they're littler, they will spin and look like what you want them to look like at a much slower speed than you have to reel a bigger spinnerbait to get those blades moving, to make that vibration. The thing of it is, in the winter and in the early spring when the water's still very cold, those fish are cold-blooded beings, and they don't move as well. They don't move as quickly. They don't want to move as quickly. So if they can see this little bait and it stays near them at a slower speed, they might want to hit it. Now, I've tried to put a meaning to this, but I will tell you, in my own experience, and I did a radio bit on this last year. I was fishing in the Wilson Hill area, and the fish that my buddy Russ and I were catching was on these little ultralight spinnerbaits. And we're talking big, big fish. And we're talking, at this time, giving them a choice between little and big. And one day, it was these great big baits that they wanted. We went back to the same spot the next day, and the only thing we could catch big fish on were these little ultralight spinnerbaits. And if I hadn't used them in the Grass River, I know Rust would have never even given them a chance. So it's something to think about this year. These little miniature spinnerbaits, and a number of companies make them, and that you have a choice of using a Colorado blade, that's a little round blade, or the willow leaf, which is a long pointed blade. And they each have very different characteristics. But the round baits are going to make more resistance in the water. They're going to spin differently, and they cause more of a thumping on the rod. The willow leaf blades, though, they're spinning slower, but since they're so much longer and bigger, they're putting out more flash. The fish can see them at a bigger distance. You got to decide which one you're going to use, and I tried using both. And they come in a number of colors. You're always safe with white, especially that time of the year, and you don't need to put any other tails on them or anything. Just fish them as they are. But I think they might really be something that most of you haven't used, and you can use it. And it's a great bait for kids to use, too, because all they got to do is reel them. And once they start spinning, they do the work for you. Now, once you get better, you can use different ways of reeling them in. But if you're not used to this kind of fishing, it's an easy way to get started. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.